The Absolute as Creation by J. van der Leeuw, read by Dave Marsland of Cardiff Theosophical Society. This piece is an extract from the Conquest of Illusion by J. van der Leeuw, published in 1928. The Absolute as Creation. The Absolute does not create. It is eternal creation. Creation is its being, its name, its nature, not even co-eternal with it, since it is not distinct from it. This is the ultimate mystery, which has neither cause nor purpose. The very word creation, however, is misleading. It at once brings in its train mental associations of a creator who creates something, the creature. All such terms are the product of the externalization of our world image as objective reality. In the illusion of our daily contemplation of that world image, we produce a construction, maker, making, thing made. And this construction we transfer to the ultimate question of creation. Thus, the very word creation, which means but making, is the product of our illusion, and we must be careful in using the term in connection with ultimate reality. In that reality, there is no dual structure. All duality is rooted in the illusion which results when we externalize our world image and consider it to be an objective reality, separate from our consciousness. Then we posit a self within and a not self without, spirit of life within, matter or form without, and we look upon our life as an interplay between the two. We then transfer this dual structure, born of illusion, into our metaphysical speculations and look upon the mystery of creation as an act, thought or event, whereby something, the objective universe, emerges out of something else. Thus, even the more subtle theories of the universe as a divine emanation, or even as the thought or imagination of God, harbour conceptions which belong to the world of relativity and are justified there, but which have no place or meaning in the world of the Absolute. It is curious to see how, in the philosophy of Hinduism, as well as in several Western philosophies, we find the construction of self, not self, which is a product of our daily illusion, transferred to ultimate realities. Nothing is in itself either self or not self. These are but relative terms arising from our daily experience, and the same thing or being which, in that experience, is realized as not self, may well be self with regard to something else. Thus, it is empty of meaning to speak of a universal self and a universal not self. There are no such ultimates, they are abstractions from our daily experience. But even if we drop these misleading terms self and not self, and speak of the one and the many, or even the absolute and the relative, we can never explain creation as an interplay between these two opposites. Absolute and relative are not a duality of opposites between which the web of life is spun. Creation is not a divine ferry service which goes from the one to the many and back again to the one. It is true, in the eternal process of creation, we can certainly distinguish a stage where the Absolute is oblivious of itself in the limitation of the relative, and the separate creature knows itself but as one among many. We can experience this stage in ourselves, in our ordinary daily consciousness, where we feel ourselves to be the separate creature and see around us a world of manifoldness. On the other hand, in our realization of the Absolute, we know ourselves to be that which is all things in unchanging unity. Yet we cannot say that creation is the going from the one stage to the other and back again. If we, in our contemplation of reality, distinguish it in certain periods or stages, These may be a mental convenience to us, but we cannot assign objective reality to them. In the swing of a pendulum, we can distinguish the moment of its highest elevation sideways and the moment where it reaches the neutral position in the centre, through which again it will swing to the highest elevation on the other side. We can, however, not characterise the swing of the pendulum as a connection between those different moments of its movement. Rather should we say that these moments are but phases which we distinguish in the swinging movements as such. The swinging movement is the fundamental reality. Any stages we desire to distinguish in it are mental conveniences to us, not realities. In the same way, creation is the fundamental reality, and any stages we wish to distinguish in it may be convenient to us in our attempt to comprehend intellectually something of a reality which is beyond our intellect. But they must not be taken as objective realities. They denote a relation and nothing more. If we contemplate the symbol of the circle, we may find it easier to approach the reality. In the circle, we can distinguish centre and circumference, which to us may symbolise respectively the one and the many. If we contemplate the symbol of the circle, we may find it easier to approach the reality. In the circle, we can distinguish centre and circumference, which to us may symbolise respectively the one and the many. We may think of rays in that circle as connections between centre and circumference, and we can draw them as such by moving our pencil from the centre to the circumference or back again to the centre. Yet we should make a great mistake if we therefore characterise radiation as a connection between the centre of a circle and its circumference. Radiation remains the fundamental reality of a circle, and in that radiation, the point from which it takes place gains the significance of centre, and the limit to which it goes gains the meaning of circumference. Centre and circumference are thus but periods or stages, moments which we distinguish in the process of radiation. No radiation, no circle, and consequently no centre or circumference. There is but one reality which we may term the absolute or the relative, the very being of which is eternal creation or eternal becoming. If in that eternal creative rhythm we distinguish one phase in which the relative is oblivious of the absolute, seeing but separateness and an external universe of relativity, and another phase in which the relative once again realizes itself as the absolute, and in that realization is the absolute. Even so, these phases are but distinctions we make in that which is entire and whole, the one ultimate eternal reality. When, in the world of the real, we realize the ultimate reality of the absolute as creation or eternal becoming, when we know the rhythm of creation as the very being of the absolute, we can see the absurdity of those questions which ask out of what material the universe is made, who made it, and how it was made. All these questions originate in illusion, and unless we conquer this illusion in ourselves from the beginning, we shall find it coming up in subtle forms at every step of our philosophical contemplations. To the intellect, in its limitation, the realization which we gain of the absolute as creation is very unsatisfactory, since it does not in any way solve or explain the problems which the intellect constructed and for the answer of which it clamours. But when we gain the experience of this ultimate reality, we find the questions disappearing in the light of reality. In that light, we can see the absurdity and distortion inherent in the questions and problems which the intellect considers so seriously and so strenuously. We do not in any way solve the problem of creation. We experience the reality in which the problem is seen, as the product of illusion. In that ultimate experience, we know that the Absolute is eternal creation, that creation is not an act, thought or emanation of the Absolute, but that it is the Absolute, its very being, ultimate reality, causeless, without beginning, end or purpose. It is the one reality beyond which nothing is. There is no cause to which the one external truth can be traced, no final result which it can ever produce or accomplish. We may call this ultimate reality the Absolute or the Relative. The two terms refer to the same reality, which is the relative when experienced by the separate creature as a world of separateness and multiplicity, which is the Absolute when realized as that which is all relativity, past and future, in ever-present reality. That reality is creation. It is the final and awful truth which we realize in the world of eternal reality, the one dark truth of which Dionysus speaks. Truly, this final mystery is awful and dark, yet its darkness is better than the light of our world image, and the awe with which it fills us is better than the self-complacent conceit of the intellect. It leaves us silent, for its simplicity is too great to be expressed. It is a mystery, the mystery of creation, the ultimate mystery, but it is no longer a problem, since we ourselves are it.